Today, I'm going to show you a framework that is apparently 7 times faster than Next.js and might actually be the first real alternative for React developers who are tired of using the Vercel framework. I mean, if you've been frustrated with Next getting slower and more complicated with each release, or you just want something that gives you more control over your server code, then this is going to blow your mind. So I've been testing Fastify with React on a few projects now, and the performance difference compared to Next.js is insane. We're talking about handling 1,000 requests every 10 seconds compared to about 400 requests with Next.js on the same app. But this isn't just my experience. Check out these numbers from benchmark tests run by one of the Fastify maintainers, with Next.js at just 49 requests per second compared to React and Fastify at 347. Yes, these numbers don't even get close to Nuxt and Vue, but that's a topic for another video. So what are these benchmark tests, and what app are both of these frameworks running during these tests? We'll answer these questions a bit later, but first, let's talk specifically about Fastify with React. Fastify is actually a Node micro framework similar to Express.js, but way faster because of its low overhead. Fastify React, on the other hand, is a React renderer for Fastify that works through Vite, which basically means you write React components and you can render them on the server using Fastify. Its main focus is SSR and client-side hydration, so it doesn't have all the functionality that Next.js provides, which is actually a good thing in my opinion. And if you're wondering why they didn't go down the whole React server components route, well, they tried, but didn't end up going with it because of its lack of documentation and the fact you had to use Webpack, which didn't play nice with Vite using ESM imports. I mean, is there any hope for React server components? Who knows? Anyway, benchmark time. But before we do that, if you've got this far into the video, thank you for watching, and you should probably hit the subscribe button to get more content like this. So, we are going to be using the Fastify React and Next.js project from this repo for this benchmark, which are the exact same projects used in the article from the Fastify maintainer. And if we look at the Fastify React project, all it's really doing is using this code to server render a spiral. I'll show you the output later. But there's a Fastify server file that sets up the Fastify Vite project and runs the server in port 3000. Inside this Vite config, it's setting up the Vite React and the Vite Fastify React plugins, and the HTML includes a mount to the JS for any hydration. So running this app in production, this is what we get in the browser, and viewing the source, we can see that all the code was rendered on the server. In a new tab, we're going to use AutoCannon to load test this URL, which should take about 10 seconds by default, and we can see that it's able to send 3,000 requests in 10 seconds, with an average of 271.2 requests per second. Let's compare that to the Next.js app, which renders this without the object, and if we run AutoCannon this time, we can see it's only able to send 520 requests in 10 seconds with an average of 51 requests per second. Now, I'm running these tests locally on my M1 MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but you'll probably be running this on a Linux server, and your project may be using more React hooks and not just a wall of JavaScript. So let's try something a bit more practical. Okay, so I vibe coded a to-do list app in Next.js and in Fastify using React, using hooks like useRootContext and useServerAction, with the Next.js app being hosted on Vercel and the Fastify app on a DigitalOcean droplet. So if we run AutoCannon on the Next.js app, we can see it does much better, and it's able to hit 5,000 requests in 10 seconds with an average of 467 requests per second. If we try the same thing with the Fastify app, we can see that also does 5k requests in 10 seconds and with an average of 487.8 requests per second, so a bit more than Next.js. I forgot to mention I did try to host the Fastify app on Vercel as well, but it wasn't as straightforward as using Next.js for obvious reasons. And also, the Next.js test was running on a warm start and not a cold start. A cold start could only achieve about 4k requests. So if you're not hosting on Vercel or are running an app locally and want a more performance solution to Next.js, then you should check out Fastify with React. But if you are hosting on Vercel and are using Next.js, then maybe it's not so bad. I mean, but still have a lot of magic behind the scenes to squeeze out all the performance necessary.